All right. Well, good afternoon. We're so excited that you guys are all here. There are actually three of us hosting this webinar today. And so I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'll let everybody else introduce themselves and let Ed give us a little kind of overview, and then we'll get started. So I know most of you. My name's Donnie Cash. I actually work on the data solutions team, and one of my primary roles is working with AXIOM. So I'm excited that you guys are here today and excited to be able to show you some neat stuff that we'll be able to do with AXIOM this year.
Hey everyone, I'm Stacy Barker here at Region 10, and a lot of you know me from my work on the accountability side. So I work with AXIOM on the, okay, so now you have all of these calculations, what do you do with it and what does it mean? So that's my role. A lot of you have heard from me on the webinars that we did last year with AXIOM, and we'll be continuing to do that.
All right, and I'm Ed Cunningham. I'm with Ed Euphoria. I'm the product manager for Aware, and so I've been working with the folks over at Region 10 with our AXIOM partnership. So I'm excited to be a part of this and ready to, I know everybody's anxious for this release and anxious to see what we have as far as our updates. And so I'm ready to get started.
All right. And I do want to go ahead and call attention to a special guest who's in the room with us. She probably won't be talking today, but Kim Gilson is in the room with us. Kim is another one of the people here at Region 10 who works with AXIOM, who can help support you guys as you're learning better how to use it and as you have questions. So we're going to give you guys some contact information via email. I'm going to send out a follow-up email to this webinar today and give you the link to the recording. Some of you will want to review. Others who I know are not able to join us today have asked, since I sent the email out last week, are you going to record? Are you going to record? I can't be there. So the answer is yes, we're going to record. We're going to put some follow-up information with contact information, especially if I have a question about X, who do I contact? So I'll follow up an email with you guys for that. And just because I'm paranoid, I'm just going to check one more time that we are in fact recording. Okay, sorry, I know that's weird, but that's just kind of how I am. All right, so Ed, why don't you take it away?
All right, so sort of as an introduction, AXIOM is, of course, our partnership between Ed Euphoria and with Region 10, and it starts with accountability. But I want to kind of take this time to talk about, while everybody's waiting on numbers to see this and to see what we have for accountability, I want to take this time to talk about how AXIOM is meant to only start with accountability. And it's our dedication this year to take the new accountability system and the new numbers and the data tables and to help go further. What is it that represents these numbers? Who are the students and the results, and where are they located at the campus level, at the student group level? And then what can be done with those numbers? And that's where Region 10 comes in. What is it that we can do with these results? So it's accountability and then what? And so one of the things that we want to make sure that we address is that in our attempts to come up with an accountability number, right? Is it a projection? Is it a prediction? We have to recognize that as the accountability system becomes more and more involved, more sophisticated with different data sources, it becomes more difficult for a data system like Aware to fully represent the projection or prediction of accountability. As anyone who studied the accountability system knows, it goes well beyond star performance and star progress numbers available in traditional just star data files. And so we've been looking into different data sources, what is out there that has to be included in these numbers, what do we have access to? And so as we go through, as Donnie and Stacy kind of present to you all of the numbers, we're going to draw a distinction between this is based off of your star files. So we can say you imported it, your file has it, this is what the number reflects. And this is based off of something that's a little bit different, maybe from another source of data like your CCMR data and grad rate, or how do we do something like continuously enrolled and non-continuously enrolled and things like that. So we've got some ways that we've addressed some of these things, and I just want to kind of put it out there that these are numbers that are meant to start with accountability. And in some cases, they're accountability adjacent. You know, we can get you to a list of tables, but our real focus is then what? What do we do next? Because it's the state of Texas that assigns your accountability rating. So the big disclaimer is we want this to be a useful tool for everybody who has it. But what we don't intend for this tool is for it to be taken to the school board as some sort of official presentation of a number that really can only come from the state of Texas. Okay. And so to Donnie and Stacy.
I think we lost Ed. Me going.
Did I stopped?
Yes.
Did you hear me?
You were gone for quite a while. So.
Oh, I said some really good things.
Oh, dang it. We missed a little bit of it. So.
What did you hear? What was the last thing you heard?
Essentially that we're not in the business of assigning you a rating, that TEA does that, but what Stacy and I will do. Yeah, that was all we heard.
Okay, it is then talk about numbers. I can't recapture what I said. It was so brilliant.
I know, that's a shame. That is a shame. Okay, thanks, Ed. We appreciate it. So I know the agenda seems very light. When we say overview, we're going to do an overview of what is included in each one of the domains. We are going to include some visuals for you of what it will look like, what you can expect beginning tomorrow. So that middle section that just has a single word is going to be the meat and potatoes of what we're going to do today. Then we're going to wrap up with a little section on some important dates. When can you expect your first training webinar? When can you expect the knowledge of the rest of the training webinars? Q&A section. And then again, I will follow this up with an email to send you guys the link to the recording in case you want to share this information with other stakeholders in your district. Maybe there's somebody who you want to convince that you need to buy AXIOM for next year and you want to show them that. I'll follow all of this up in an email as well.
All right, so here we have the district landing page. So this will be what you see when you first come into AXIOM. As you can see, it's not very significantly different than what it was before. Keep in mind that we don't know yet exactly what those TEA reports will look like. And so once we get more information about what those will look like, then we'll work to make sure that AXIOM matches those so that it looks very similar to what you get in your reports.
You'll notice also that there are still some pieces of old language. This is going to get cleaned up over the next day or so. So you'll see there's still a recalculate indexes button down there. That will become domains. There are a couple of things that you'll see under the graphs and reports, which may not actually be there when you get your full launch tomorrow. So just know that some of this cleanup is happening behind the scenes as we speak. And so there will be a few things that you'll notice might be slightly different tomorrow, but then a lot is going to be probably significantly different whenever we get the reports from TEA in August.
And you see we have domain 1, domain 2 part A, and domain 3. If you recall, domain 2 part B is coming in our second launch, if you read that on the infographic. So we anticipate that that might actually be a little sooner than that date that was on the infographic. But as of right now, we have a placeholder for it, but it won't populate just quite yet.
So this is, as Stacy said, what the landing page looks like for a district. So now let's show you what it would look like for a campus. Again, we're going to have the overview at the top showing you how many points you earned out of a possible for each domain. And then at the bottom, there's going to be the domain summary. You guys are probably very used to this from a lot of the TEA release materials, which is going to show you your scaled score in each of the domains. Then it's going to say the better of part A or part B, and it'll list a value there for you. Then the better of student achievement or school progress, it'll list a value for you. Then show you the weights, the weighted points, and your overall score. What we want to make sure that any customer knows for this year is that campuses are not getting an A through F score. I know that for most of you that seems like a crazy thing to keep saying, but we still talk to people who are mistaken. They still think they're getting an A through F for their campuses. They are not. However, in AXIOM, we're going to give you your projected rating as met standard or improvement required. If you're very close to the line, we would say potentially met standard, potentially improvement required. Then we're going to go ahead and plug in your A through F value for you. This is something that we were able to add for you as TEA released the manual and gave us those cut scores. So we think that this is a really neat feature for campuses because you're not going to have to go look it up yourselves. You're not going to have to go use any online tools and plug things in. We're going to go ahead and give you your projected rating as met standard or IR, but then also include a letter value for you. All right, so now Stacy's going to talk to you about what happens when I click on domain 1.
All right, going into domain 1. So what we have included in that charts, once you get in there, you're going to have your star component that's pulled from your data files. And that will give you a raw score, that's that average of approaches, meets, and masters, and a scale score. So you don't have to go to the scaling tool. Axiom's going to do that for you, give you the scale score for that star component. As you scroll down, you'll see data tables with each subject area for all of those pieces of the star component, approaches, meets, and masters, also for each student group. And those are clickable to produce your student list, which if you are a former Axiom customer from this past year, you're very familiar with that and you've worked with those clickable tables. So those will look very similar to what they have looked like in the past. Then we have the CCMR component. This is data that's entered by hand from the files that you get from TEAS that TEA releases to you. So once that data is entered, then the table will have the raw score, which is the percentage of CCMR points that you received, and the scale score. Again, you don't have to go to the scaling tool. Axiom produces that scale score for you. Then the graduation rate, again, one of those data entered by hand. So you'll enter the 4-year, the 5-year, and the 6-year, and Axiom will decide which one of those is the highest percentage for you to get the raw score, and then it will provide the scale score.
Now I have some really exciting news for you. I know last year we had a lot of people who, for many reasons, just didn't have either the manpower or the time to be able to input these PIEMS-based indicators. So we at Region 10 are offering to help you with this task, but that is going to require that you share some information with us. So if you are interested in Region 10 assisting you with your entering of your CCMR and graduation rate data, you need to send me an email. But before you do, and I know my email is going to start dinging here any second, before you do, let me tell you, I will send a list of what needs to be included and how you need to mask that to make the data not confidential any longer. What you get from TEAS is confidential. It's got identifying student information, and we do not want you guys sending that. So I will, if you're interested, you can send me an email and say, hey, I'm interested, what do I need to do? And I will have an email for you that has directions for what we need so that you can discuss with the people in your district to see if that's something y'all are comfortable sharing outside of your organization. If you just need assistance on what is it that I need to enter, because I'll do it myself, we'll also have a set of instructions for that. We will let you know in TEAS which files specifically you're looking for, and we'll help you guys with that as much as you need. So more on that to come, but if you're interested, go ahead and shoot me an email and I can send you some information.
So let's look at what this is going to look like. Here is, when you click in that domain 1, this is what pops up. So you click into that bar graph that showed your scale score of 80, and then this pops up for the district. So at the top, you have your star component. So it lists out that approaches, meets, and masters for all of your subject areas. And then you get those percentage points. That's adding up those 3 percentages, divide that by 3. That gives you your star component score. And again, you don't have to go to the scaling tool. Your scaled score is right there underneath it. Then the CCMR table and the graduation rate tables also populate, again, from that hand-entered data. And then those 3 get combined for our high schools and districts at a 40-40-20 rate. So the star component is 40%, CCMR is 40%, and graduation rates is 20%. At the campus level, if it's an elementary or a middle campus, only the star component graph will show.
Just like last year, any data that has to be hand entered will be over in the bottom right. I will show you guys what this looks like on the landing page here in just a second. But remember, it's going to be over there where you've got the Configure Campuses button. So you would click on that and you would add in, you'd enter the data for your high schools, K-12s, or districts so that your CCMR and graduation rate tables would populate. If you don't enter that data, just like last year, we had lots of people who didn't want to enter their grad rates, grad plans, and college and career readiness grads. They just wanted an estimate based on their star component only, even for their district and high schools. If you don't add data in there, it's really just going to have the star component in there for you.
All right, so as you scroll down, these are the data tables that split out all subjects, reading, math, all the subject areas, as well as for those student groups. And so say if we went over to reading and we selected that 75 at master's grade level, then that's going to pop up our student list. Again, this is the really exciting part for me with AXIOM, because then you can start really drilling down to how are these students affecting me within accountability? What students do I need to start watching to be able to define intervention groups and all of those pieces. I want to take a moment to mention something really briefly. There is an option in these student lists to look at included versus excluded. And I want to tell you that when we talk about excluded versus included, we're talking about those very specific exclusions and inclusions that are listed in the manual, i.e. those English language learners in their first year in U.S. schools. Those situations, I know that this year there are some additional exclusions that are because of a special circumstance, i.e. the online disruption issues. And so we don't have built into the programming to exclude those students because it's not written into the manual. It's a special circumstance. So I wanted to make that clear. Most of the time, those exclusions are going to help you, not hurt you. And so your score in most cases would get better with those exclusions than what we have here.
All right, so that is it for domain 1. I know that Ed is monitoring the chat, but I'm going to pause really quickly and go ahead and let us see if there are questions that need to be answered in that chat real quick. Let's see. We must be doing a really, really good job because there are no questions so far. That's the way I take it anyway, is that we're just doing well. It's not that, no. It's really hard when I don't have an audience. It's hard for me to be as funny as I feel when I don't have people giving me feedback.
I'll have to be your laugh track.
Thank you.
Next time.
I'll prompt Stacy next time. All right, so we are done with talking a little bit about domain 1, and now we're going to move into domain 2.
All right, so domain 2A, and this is one of those components that, again, I'm really excited that AXIOM is going to be able to do this for you, because 2A is the academic growth piece, which requires you to literally go student by student to identify what point values they're contributing within your accountability. And so AXIOM is going to be able to produce for you who those kids are and how they counted for you. So within domain 2A, we have that raw score with the percentage of points that you earned, and then again, the scale score, so you don't have to go to the scaling tool to look that up. Then there are the data tables with each point scenario separated, which are also clickable to produce those student lists, just like in domain 1. You'll be able to click in that and be able to pull those student lists. And then, really exciting, I'll show you the actual visual here in a second, is that we've added a graphic showing those total point scenarios on that matrix that you've been getting from all of our presentations, and it's color-coded, which is super exciting. So here's that table. And you see each of those point scenarios. So it starts with the no points, and then all of the specific instances where students could get no points, and the total assessment. So again, just like domain 1, you'll be able to click into that and see who are the 40 students that went from approaches to did not meet, and did not meet their growth expectation, and that are giving me no points in my accountability system. Then as you scroll down, it'll have your total with 1 point, and then it'll have your domain score, which is those total points over the total number of progress measures. And then again, it'll scale it for you, so you don't have to go use the scaling tool. And here's that beautiful matrix, just like you're used to, right? But so then you can see here in red, these are the 228 that went from did not meet to did not meet and did not meet their progress. So all of these red boxes are those 0 point situations. Then it lists out for you in yellow those half-point situations. So for instance, here, this is your meets to meets that did not meet their STAR progress measure. And then your green are your full point situations. So that's a really nice visual to be able to see where all of those numbers shake out on that matrix.
All right, so you will notice that we have skipped domain 2B. As Stacy mentioned early in the webinar, domain 2B is set to release later than the rest of the pieces. We actually think we're going to be able to deliver that for you significantly before the original date promised, which was 7/10. So we're going to move on to domain 3.
All right, domain 3 is going to have your component calculation table. So that gives you the raw score, which is that weighted average of those 3 components that'll be included this year. And again, scale score right next to it. And then it'll have the data table with the percentages for each indicator and student group and the percentage of indicators met for each component. So at the top, there is your component calculation table. Keep in mind that there's one component that's not included there this year that will be included in future years. That's that TELPAS component that we're pretty confident that the federal government's going to give us the waiver on, so that's why it's not included in AXIOM. If for some reason that changes, we'll go back and update as we need to. And so here, what you're looking at is this is the percentage met for each of those components. Then they get that weighted average, and those total points get added up for the raw score, and then that gets scaled to your, for this particular district, 76. Down below is the data table for each of those components. So all students and each of the student groups that meets minimum size. And then there's a total met here, 6 out of the total evaluated 18. That gives you the percentage that goes up into that calculation table. Now, as of right now, it's not as clear as to which ones are met and not met. We're working on that to give some sort of visual to be able to show you exactly where that met or not met. So, but that's compared to those targets that are in the manual in chapter 4, which is the closing the gaps chapter. So you can look at those targets and be able to identify which ones are met and not met.
In domain 3, we have a handful of areas that do not come from your data file. And I'm speaking specifically of those new things that we were like, wait a minute, what? The continuously enrolled versus non-continuously enrolled, your former special ed kiddos, and your
monitor year 3 and year 4.
Your monitor year 3 and year 4. If you are a long-term Eduphoria customer, we've built in to AXIOM an ability to pull some of that data for you. So you will notice that this particular district has some data in the continuously versus non-continuously enrolled. There are times when the data that is inside Eduphoria for things like that really comes from probably your student information system might be incomplete. So what we are telling you here is we're going to pull as much data as possible out of Aware. And Ed kind of handled this in the overview, which is we aren't in the business of giving you a rating. What we want to do is give you a projection that's a starting place for you instructionally. So we want you to be able to see where you are in meeting those targets with the data that's available. As more data becomes available, as data sources become clear, obviously we're going to do our best to update and ensure that all of the data included is, or that all of the available data is included and that it's complete. So more on that to come.
Speaking of data, I want to go back and mention, because I didn't mention the sources. For domain 2A, that source is your STAR data files. That comes directly from those STAR data files. And then for your domain 3, the academic achievement comes from STAR. If it's an elementary or middle school growth, additionally will come from those STAR files. The federal graduation rates and CCMR will come from that hand-entered data. So just to let you know, yep, those sources.
All right. So again, I didn't pause after 2A just because it was just 2A. So I'm going to go ahead and pause really quickly. I know Ed has been monitoring the chat for us, and so we're going to go back and kind of check it out. Or Ed, you can give us a question.
We actually had a question that Stacy just addressed in the answer she gave about data sources related to 2A. You may have students who have tested in your district who didn't test in the district previously. While we don't have information related to domain 3 for that student related to continuously improve versus non-continuously improve, we certainly have information that's included in the data file. And so if you have specific questions about what kinds of information is available in the STAR data file, that would probably be an opportunity for you to contact Region 10 to have kind of a back and forth conversation about exactly what is in there. But generally speaking, the data file includes information related to the current STAR year plus some historical information related to accountability for that student.
Okay. All right. Wait time is not my forte. However, I am going to practice it and see if we have any additional questions.
And we can also, at this point, since we're talking about data files, emphasize that the data quality for anything related to accountability and aware is as good as your most recent file update. So if you imported data into Aware when you first received it, so let's talk about, like, say, your first administration 5th and 8th grade reading and math file. If you every time you get a more updated file in your ETS file manager, it's in your interest to put that file into Aware, because it usually will have updated records for students, or possibly even fields that weren't in the original file now filled in. And so whatever your most recent file is, that's going to be the one that you always want to import, not just for accountability viewing, but also just for general Aware data viewing. Sometimes they don't release information until later.
All right, thank you, Ed. It doesn't look like we have any additional questions, so we will kind of wrap up with some important dates, some things to think about, and then, as I said, every one of you in this webinar and everyone who was invited, they're not going to hear it until after they listen to the recording, are going to get an email from me with kind of next steps and some important stuff to do. So, important dates. You guys know that we are launching AXIOM tomorrow. It should be live on your sites tomorrow evening. So some of you don't know, but I'll go ahead and let you know. Eduphoria does their releases in the evening/night. So I know some of you are like, we're going to get up at 6 a.m. and start looking at AXIOM. Wait until Wednesday at 6 a.m. There we go. But I do want to let you know that even though we put it in the infographic, I just want to let you guys know, last year we launched in June, and kind of what you had in June is what you had until tomorrow. I want you to know that we are committed this year to refining this as we get more information about this new accountability system. We are always listening to what TEA is telling us. We're always monitoring what they give us, but you guys know we don't know what the reports are going to look like yet. So we're committed to making sure that this product matches as best we can what you guys see and what you guys need from an accountability projector plus instruction tool. So Stacy is actually going to be doing our first training webinar on August 27th. Woo woo. We're excited about that. So that's going to let you guys start the school year off with some accountability discussions. I know that many of you start in early to mid-August with talking about, you know, your campus improvement plans and district improvement plans, but you don't really have maybe great reports to use with your teacher. So we're going to try to provide you guys with some ideas of how you can use the newest accountability data with your teachers in those early week PLCs that you'll be having on your campuses, or how district level people can begin working with their principals to arm them for those early first 6 weeks PLC meetings. So we're excited about that. Some of you may ask, well, why are you waiting until the end of August instead of having it before school starts? That's a great question. The answer is your reports are not going live in public until the 15th of August, but then we actually have an accountability meeting with TEA on the 23rd of August. So if there are any things that happen between the initial confidential release to you guys on the 7th or whenever it is, and that point in time when it goes public, TEA will cover that with us at the Service Center on August 23rd. So we're going to have the newest, freshest information for you after August 23rd. So we're going to try to do that. It will be recorded. So for those of you who are like, well, that's our first day of school, there's no way I can do a webinar. Never fear, we are going to record it. Also, before the 27th, when we send out the email to advertise that webinar for you, we will send you a list of the proposed webinars for the year for AXIOM. Stacy did an awesome job last year of setting up some really timely and important webinars for our customers to be able to say, hey, well, I've got a projected rating, but now what do I do next? And so we're going to add to that list. We might have to even do a couple of differentiated webinars. Some of our customers will be brand new to us this year. Some of you will be second-year customers, and so you may need something a little bit different. So we'll be getting all of that for you in the next month or so and getting that out to you so you can mark your calendars. All right. Well, then we are going to just pause for a moment for questions. And then if there are none, we will let you guys go.
I'd like to add something. This webinar has been kind of focused on how Axiom will look, and here's the different domains. But there is one extra feature that's going to exist in Axiom that didn't exist last year, and that's campus administrator access. The principals are able to go in traditionally and look at accountability reporting in Aware, but Axiom was reserved last year for district level folks. It's a beautiful interface with all these extra things that can be done. And we didn't want to just hold that for the few people at the district level who had access to Axiom. So this year, principals will have access to view and click into the data tables and look at Axiom domain by domain. They won't have to enter their own CCMR stuff. That's still done at the management level, but they'll have the benefits of being able to click in and see all of the results related to accountability. So that's something that some folks had asked for last year, and we will be releasing that as part of our Axiom package.
Thank you. That's so important. How did I miss that? Okay.
You're thinking about domain 2B?
Tammy, the answer is yes. You will have to go in on the management side into managing your users. And Ed, help me if I'm wrong. There's a button under Aware. It should be the very last button that says Analyze Accountability Data. I'm
gonna pause you real fast.
Okay.
The answer is no for principals.
Oh, no for principals. See?
Principals, by having principal access to a campus, or basically anybody who has a principal role on a campus, will have the Axiom principal level. Okay. What Donnie was just describing is what you have to do for granting management access to somebody. So if you give somebody the right to manage accountability, that's going to give them the Axiom tab that has all the management features at the district level. But for principals to benefit at the campus level, by being a campus principal and having the ability to go in and view data and Aware for their campus, they will also now have an Axiom for just the principal level.
I'm glad you were here, Ed. I just about gave everybody in the state access to their district's accountability.
Then they all would have had to enter their own CCMR data.
There you go. Tammy, if you want them to enter their own CCMR data. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. All right. Are there any other questions? Ed, do you have anything else to add?
I do not. I know that this has been kind of an anxious couple of weeks, especially since the big 3 through 8 file came out. And we've been working very, very hard to get this out. One of the things that we need to be aware of on our side is, or that we have to be, we don't want to release something that's inaccurate or incomplete because it's related to such a, high impact tool. And so we've held off on this so that we could refine each of the domains, and we're still refining, like Donnie was saying, each of the domains throughout the summer. And so thank you for your patience on this. I know a lot of people have been, kind of chomping at the bit ready for this to come out. And we want to work with you as you gain access to it and use the tool. If we find out that there's any part of the tool that's not working as intended, that any part of the tool that could be improved upon, this is your tool so that you can use it for action planning moving forward. So if it falls short of any of those things, your feedback is very much valued. So in your contacts with us on the Eduphoria side, or with Donnie and Stacy over on the Region 10 side, please let us know how it's working for you and where it can be improved upon so that we can get those features enhanced throughout the school year.
I want to piggyback on that. I'm glad you said it, Ed, because it reminded me. I know that working with us is slightly different maybe than working with like a big giant company that you don't actually know the people developing the product. The best indication we have of what you need is what you tell us. So as Ed said, if you have feature requests, if you have suggestions, any feedback you can give us at all on how am I using Axiom at my district, or how are my principals using Axiom on their campuses, that could give us insight into how we can improve it. Because our goal here is to make something that's usable for you. It's great to be able to easily, kind of filter and slice and dice accountability stuff, but really what we're interested in is helping you use your accountability data. I know that it's almost blasphemy to say, but after you get your rating, you don't care about it anymore. What we really care about are how can we create pieces that are going to help you use that data and improve the outcomes for kids. That's our goal. So please, please continue to give us feedback. We've had several of you who are year 2 customers and have given us feedback that's helped us design some new things for this year, including the principal access tool. So just anything you guys can think of that would help you, let us know. We'll do our best to add it. Stacy, do you have anything else to add? Paige, I'm going to let, I'm actually going to let Ed answer this, but my understanding is if you've purchased AXIOM at the district level and your role in AWARE is principal, then yes, you would be able to view it. Ed, did I do better that time?
Correct. Principals will be the same as they can. That's free and started. If you have principal access, you will.
Unfortunately, you cut out again. We only got a few words of that, but was the answer yes? Oh, good. All right, Ed just answered in the chat. He said yes. Perfect. Okay, Stacy.
More verbose answer before.
Yeah, I like both of them actually. So, Stacy, you have anything else?
I just wanted to piggyback on what Donnie said. When I'm doing these instructional webinars, a lot of what I'm doing is thinking about, when I was in your role as a district administrator who was over assessment and accountability and trying to figure out how to use this. That's where a lot of those webinars came from. Is like, this is what I would want to do with this at the district level. So anything that you can share with me about what you're actually doing with it will help me to build those webinars in the future and be able to support all of you instructionally, because that's really my side of it, is to say, okay, what do we now do with these numbers to be able to impact student learning in the classroom?
So it's like a accountability, choose your own adventure. You tell Stacy what you want to do next, and that's the direction we go. Okay, well, I'm going to pause for one more second to get any last minute questions. And if there are none, I will go ahead and stop recording this. We'll be on for an extra minute or two, just turning everything off. So if you think of something after I already stop and you're like, oh man, I wish I'd asked that question, it's still going to be open. So thank you guys so much for coming. We're excited about AXIOM for 2018-2019, and we look forward to seeing you guys on our next webinar.